All right, hi everybody. It is Leigh again with Creative Aging Program from Arts Council of Oklahoma City. So today we are going to do charcoal pencil drawings of little woodland animals. So the materials you'll need will be a white charcoal pencil and a black charcoal pencil, black construction paper, a big eraser, and a pencil sharpener. So all right, let's get started. Okay. Thank you for your patience. So we're kind of going to build on, we did the plants, the white charcoal pencil plants, and today, we're going to focus on some woodland animals. I can't reach that eraser, that's okay. So we're going to do a little bit of fur work, and it's the same principle. You just start with your basic shape, and I thought a hedgehog would be good to show in the video, and because it's a pretty simple shape, and it's just something that you're going to keep working on. Even with the plants, though they were nice simple shapes, it still takes time. So same thing with like the little hedgehog. So we've got your basic outline, and here again, I did a rabbit and a raccoon and a hedgehog. And if there is some other woodland animal or any other furry animal for that matter that you want to do, totally feel free. So, and I always kind of like to sharpen stuff just to kind of be ready to go. Okay. Well, and I think what I like to do is if I know that the hedgehog's body is going to be lighter anyway, I'll just take the pencil and just do a light, and just kind of fill it in lightly. And, and then also just still be aware of, directional line work, you fill it in. So I'm going to fill it in and just kind of, I'm holding the pencil a little differently. And sorry if it makes you dizzy when I'm moving the paper around. So I'm just going to kind of lightly fill this in. And this is, going to take a little bit. Ooh, that was my first side. So, this kind of gives you an idea. So just keep going. And since, a hedgehog's body is kind of lighter anyway, and then, because I think it's helpful that you can kind of see the basic shapes more easily when you have this. And then see, like when I'm going in between his eyes, I know that the fur changes direction. So I'm going to kind of move up like this, and it kind of bends and kind of then kind of comes around. And this part, you don't have to worry about your line work so much. This, we're just kind of getting in some texture underneath, because you're going to be going over this a whole lot, as you know. And just remember, this is fun, and this is kind of get into a zen place. And just take your time. This is not a race. But I just kind of wanted to focus on something a little different, that has a little more structure to it, like animals and fur. They're a little trickier is not the word. They're just different than like doing something solid like a plant, because fur has a life of its own, and it has a lot of depth. And there's, different types of fur. Today I just focused on animals that have really pretty short fur. The raccoon has a little bit longer fur, but not like a big fuzzy dog. Fuzzy hair or fuzzy fur is different than short fur. So, and then since today we're going to really use the black pencil a lot, I like to go ahead and start filling in some things that I know are going to be really dark black. Because sometimes that kind of helps you feel like, oh, it really is coming together, even at an early stage. But you know that this is one of those things that actually really comes together at the end. So you know it's going to look kind of strange, and for a while you're like, oh my gosh, this doesn't look like anything for a long time. And that's okay, because that happens to me too. And that's, you know, art is not fast, especially when doing drawings and things. So, and I'm going to go ahead and put in this more distinct line for his mouth, and I can change it later, but, and then I can do some little, go back in for around his little toes. Because it's really amazing what doing the black charcoal pencil, even though you're on black paper, with the white creates a lot more depth, as I've said before. And this just kind of helps kind of bring out certain things. So now for the, I'm just going to go ahead and start working on the top part of the hedgehog, because his stomach is, you know, more kind of furry like, but then the hedgehog top is kind of more sort of like thing, porcupine quills, but not exactly. But see, I'm just using layers of short lines, and then, you know, and just follow, you know, just keep going back for towards the hedgehog's haunches back here, which you can't really see. So in this, you just, the directional lines, you just keep going. And I am using short lines because of, you know, the hedgehogs, I don't know, with fur or short quills or whatever they have, they're short. You know, it's not long like certain animals. And you're just going to be doing this a lot. And I know those of you who are like, oh my gosh, we should be done already. No, just breathe. This is good practice. Okay? And just to show you when we're getting in here, then you're going to go back over the white and do the same thing with your black pencil. And just remember, there's going to be lots of layers, so he's going to look a little funky for a while. But see how you can tell just by adding the black charcoal pencil on top of the white, it's adding some different kind of texture and depth to his little fur. Because you've got to get just the basic coat of fur or little quills so that you can build on it. And see, you know, I'm coming back on top of the ones that I already did too, and just layering them in a different way. And there's really, just keep going. There's not really a right way or wrong way to do this, other than you just want to make sure you've got your directional lines following the hedgehog's body. So, in some of them, and just, I like to do it like this to get just the base coat of fur underneath, because you'll go back on top and you can change the direction, you know, somewhat. But this at least gives you a good start of how you want to get the basic fur under here. So, see, you can totally do this. This is just, you know, lots of mark making, just lots of lines. Okay. Okay. Woo. But you can see this is, and it's just a slow process, because you know I love to make you all draw. And it's not a fast thing. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you get, as I always say. And I know you got a lot of you are a lot more accomplished artists now, you know, since you've been doing this a while. So you should feel good about that. And this is totally doable, because if you look at it, look at the hedgehog's big fat shape. This is a really nice, simple shape. And I'll talk you through the other animals too, but you just, as with all things, just break it down into the simple shapes. Don't, you know, sometimes it's kind of overwhelming looking at it as a whole. Just break it down. Sometimes it's good to start with the eyes and the nose and just kind of, for the hedgehog, he's kind of a big lump. So that's a good little lob shape. Yeah. So, and here we go. We're just keeping going. So, you know, hedgehogs have lots of little quills and little fur things. And if you accidentally go, oh my gosh, don't worry about it. Just keep going. And I'm sure some hedgehogs have spiky or funky hair than others, but we're just continuing to do all these little short strokes with your pencil to give that little spiky look. And then we'll come back here in a minute and work on the body some more. And then, yeah. So, and for fur too, you know, sometimes it's easier if you keep your pencil pretty sharp. But, you know, for filling in some of this stuff, it's nice to have it not quite as sharp. It just depends on what you're doing. So this is all a level of comfort. You know, and I usually do the animals somewhat sort of stylized because, you know, this is not really about super realism. Okay, this is just getting you comfortable with using, you know, the charcoal pencils to kind of get started with some fur and, you know, different kinds of, you know, shapes and line work with the pencil. So, you know, and you're going to find what works for you best. So just keep on going. So on this, you know, we're going to just kind of start adding some little short lines. But we're going to actually come back in here and use a lot more light, you know, the white pencil too. And there's a suggestion of his ear, and so if you want to bring this out a little bit more. So, and like his nose, you know, would be kind of coming up like this in the bridge of his nose. So, I'm just going to kind of... Okay, so you can see I've been adding more, I keep adding layers of fur, and on the body, the fur is actually a little bit longer than it is on the top. And then, so what I've been doing is just kind of following, not like exactly like that. And so you're just adding longer layers of fur here. You know, and I'm sure every hedgehog is different. So you feel like you can have your hedgehog have shorter fur on the base. That's totally fine too. And then like what I was doing up here in his face is I was saying is since the fur on his face is even shorter than it is on his body, I was just kind of filling in with some color and also doing a little line work, but not as sharply as I was for on the top of his body and underneath. And it's just a slow buildup of layers of pencil. So, and then you can go back in here with just and see, I'm taking the black pencil, doing the same kind of thing. I'm just kind of smearing it around and just kind of adding some color in here onto the bridge of his nose a little bit. And if you want to, you can use your finger a little bit. And then I'm still going to go back in again and use some white. And I'm using little light strokes here for on the bridge of his nose. But see, that still gives some depth, like the bridge of his nose is still a little bit darker than the rest of his face. And you'll still go back in if you wanted stuff to be whiter, you know, brighter and lighter. Then you're just going to keep going over your fur and just pressing a little bit harder each time. Because then that gives you some highlights and also brings out more depth. And then sometimes you can go, well, that's not exactly what I was going for. And you just kind of come in and adjust what you're doing and Just keep going. And you hold the pencil however it's comfortable for you. When filling in spaces, I kind of change how I hold the pencil, you know. So whatever, you know, and I know I've already said this, but whatever works for you. Because sometimes when you're filling in larger areas, it's easier to hold it differently so that you're not wearing your hand out, because you can actually use more of your wrists and your whole arm versus just your fingers. Okay? And so we're going to come back in and just keep adding like little. Just keep going. And then then if one area is kind of bothering you, then just jump to something else. Just, you know, it's helpful to kind of bounce around to the different parts. You get it to, but you can see how he's slowly coming together. And if you think, well, there's too much dark in his face up here, then just add some white. And if you're having a hard time getting some of the charcoal pencil off, just use your big eraser. And you can also use it, you know, like a tool and do it in a certain direction. This one is not as important because we're taking some of the layers of black pencil off, so then I can add some more of the white in here. Okay. So, and I want to get more white near his eye. And then sometimes you can, if you're just trying to fill in, you could just kind of, you don't have to make a specific line. I'm just kind of adding some whiteness in there. Just kind of moving it around, and then I'll come back on top later with some black pencil then to give it more the fur like appearance. So here we go. Just keep on going. Yeah. So, and then what I did with his ear, because his ear is really kind of more like skin, I just took the edge of the pencil and see how I'm just lightly kind of filling it in so it doesn't look like fur, because it's actually skin. So I'm just gently doing that. And then, you know, you can add, you know, I added some black in there to kind of be the center of his ear, and then I'm having, you know, some of the fur come out here. So, and then now what I'll do is kind of go back into to his body some more and just keep adding it. It just, basically, that's just what this process is about, as you know. Just keep adding lines and filling it in until he gets until the fur looks as fluffy and furry as you are wanting. Because, you know, hedgehogs have a lot of it. So, and you want to look like, you know, there's lots of layers underneath there, so that's why we're adding lots and lots of layers here. And then here on the back side, where you can kind of see that kind of blends into the paper, then you want to make sure you get in there with some, press a little bit harder with your white so you can really see some edges there. And then you can come back in too with your black and do the same thing, just to kind of bring it out. So, yeah, there's just lots of layers. And then too, you can see what's happening is now his body and the top of him are actually starting to kind of blend and not really have much of a differentiation between light and dark. So you just want to make sure that you go back in and, you know, and I want to make some little short lines in here to add some dimension, but you want to make sure that you definitely go back in, and if you need to, take your black pens, this is a pencil, and go in and see I'm doing larger areas of black and just kind of I'm just kind of moving it pretty fast, but kind of keeping it in short strokes, but filling it in. because that's one of the things you really want is the top back of the hedgehog is, you know, darker. Now, granted, some hedgehogs are lighter in color, so ultimately this is your decision how you want it to look. But I like the idea of having some nice contrast. So that's what we're doing, is I'm just going to keep, and then you can have the hair kind of pop down here, and then there we go. All right. So now we brought back the bit darker, and so we're still going to keep going in here and doing, we'll fill in his body, same thing. I'm just really putting light pressure. So I'm kind of filling in some of the under layers. But see, I'm still leaving the really bright white on the top, but I want to have more contrast. So his belly is definitely lighter than his top. So we'll just keep going here. A lot of it is, you know, you're just wanting to make sure you get enough pencil underneath for the underneath part of your drawing. It's kind of like, you know, underpainting, but it's all of the initial pencil build up for your image. So but you can see how he's coming together, and this is one that, you know, on here I kind of probably need to adjust his direction here, which is fine, and then I can kind of come in here with some really kind of short lines for his in the nose part, and then put some little black spots in here because I know he's going to have some whiskers. And so you're just going to keep doing it. Oh, you know, just keep adding it, layers, and then if you need more of a distinctive kind of cheek area where his face is, and then just keep layering them on top of each other so you can kind of figure out how you want it to look. So, and even so, I'm gonna, let's see. Okay. And then even though then I kind of lost his bottom, his chin here, because his lip line, or his mouth line, is really pretty low, so. And then if you think your white's getting a little exaggerated, then you just kind of come in with some of the black pencil, and yeah, and then you're still gonna, if you have any shadow down here, you're still, even though it's on black paper, you're still gonna do this with your black pencil. That you can see, and then you kind of lightly do a little edge around his ear. So, anyway, and you know, you just keep going, and then if so, you've got the hair going in the ear. Now let's see, got a little more dark up here. But you can see, you just keep adding lines over and over, you know, to keep building up his fur. And, you know, you can have some of the black fur kind of come down in here. That transition, so, and then we can add a little more detail to his feet. You know, and you don't even have to have much detail with the feet at all if you don't want to. So, just kind of a suggestion of his feet and a little bit of fur on them too. And they do have like nice little fingernails on here, but you don't really have to make any claws or anything. Or you can just do a little white line. Or if that looks strange to you, then don't do it. So I'm just gonna go in here and you know, and always be thoughtful about your direction, you know, because the fingers are curved, so I'm still just kind of slightly curving it like that so that it doesn't look flat. And you don't really see this one, and that's okay, it's mostly in shadow. And so, but that definitely gives you the idea of his little foot poking out there. And then I'll come back in here still and add a bit more white. Alright, so, and you know, and we'll kind of come back in here and add some more black into his fur so we don't have to. And I'm just doing more of the long lines of fur like the body has. And if you think it's getting too dark, then just keep adding more white. And you'll work on this even longer. You know, I have a short time to kind of show you the basics. But you just keep going. And you can totally do this. Because all this is just doing lots of lines over and over again. And just slowly building up your image to where you like it, because ultimately it's where you get to a stopping place where you like it, where he has enough fur, because you know, this is not something you do in 15, 20, even 30 minutes. This takes time. And I know you guys, you can do this. So and like I say every week, I look forward to seeing everybody's work once we get back into the classroom. And then, you know, you can take your big eraser, you know, at different times throughout the drawing if you want, or you can wait until the end, and we just want to make sure you can clean up some of your lines that kind of get out of hand. Or so anyway. And then too, if you need a little perspective, stand up, or well, you don't have to stand up, but just hold your picture away from you so you can kind of see how it really is coming together. All right. So here's a close-up of the three, you know, animals. So, and it's the same technique for all of them. They vary in degree, you know, with kinds of fur, but for the most part, it's shorter fur. And just, you know, get in your basic outline, and it's just the same thing, just slowly building up of the layers of fur. Now he has a bit of a tree, you don't have to do that, you know, of course, and if you want to, just do the raccoon's face, any way you want to do it, but you all can totally do this, and it's just, everyone is just, and remember directional lines, kind of following the shape of the animal, for, you know, and the bunny. So this is just sometimes helpful, and like in here, he's like the little short lines on their faces, but you can have a super furry fat bunny, you know, whatever you want. But you guys can do this. And here again, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.